Hi, this is Anna and welcome to my channel. I'm gonna do my regular monthly feature and I'm gonna do one chapter from 5 books today and tell you my immediate reaction to those 5 books. All the books I have chosen this time around are published in English or they have been translated into English and I'm going to read them in that language. I don't know why, but I'm kindly going through more the English language appreciation reading phase. Like, no disrespect to my Russian readers, but for some bizarre reason, I just am drawn more to the English literature at the moment. So, without further ado, those are the 5 books I'm going to pick up and read one chapter or prologue in a chapter from this month. The first book I'm going to start with is the book which I have picked up in my moth box for this month, selected by the lovely Mercedes, and this is called 100 Shadows by a Korean author, Hwang, Jungeun. I'm pretty sure I'm going to butcher that. And it's translated, I guess, by Yang Yawon, unless I have mistaken the translator and the author, and they should really be the other way around. So I'll see this one and see what I feel about this book. Alright, I have just finished the first chapter of the book called 100 Shadows. And I don't know, it's a very strange read. It has fabulous quality. It's a very interesting way to formulate the words. The prose itself is very gooey and the dialogue is constructed really interestingly, so from literary point of view it's quite interesting. And maybe because I'm not that used to the Asian literature, I do find it's quite interesting. It's more similar to some of the Russian fairy tales than the European one. It's quite dark and there is an overriding feeling of unease and unrest throughout the book. So we, in the first chapter, meet 2 teenagers, a boy and a girl, who are clearly in the early stages of a relationship. They like each other and they're lost in the woods and they're walking through the woods, and the boy retells the story of the shadows to the girl. We have the saying in Russian that the fear has large eyes. Like when you're scared, you tend to exaggerate, or the fear makes you exaggerate certain things. It's clearly a lot of it is either magical realism or it is just a fable for adults, but I quite enjoy it. And once you get into the prose, really sucks you in, and it was very difficult for me to put this down. I think once I pick this book again for the second time, I will just read it in one sitting. This is not the book you can just like read the sentence, read the chapter, put it down. This is something you will just devour in one swift sitting and then pause and think afterwards. I have to say, I really like it. This is not something I would have picked up by myself, but I'm glad I'm reading this now. Great, so the second book I'm going to read is the book from the same box. This is Marisa Silver and her book The Little Nothings, which again is a fabulous storytelling, a little bit of a fairy tale retelling. I love fairy tales, so the blurb on this book was amazing, and it was the book which I really wanted to just keep on reading, so I'm really curious. Hope I do like it. Okay, so another book, another fairy tale. This one is really interesting, just as the blurb suggested, Little Nothings. It's really fascinating. It's set in no particular time, and the book starts with a horrendous labor. A very old woman, not told what her age is at the end of a very painful, very extensive labor, which has taken more than 27 hours, and this is done with the midwife in her house, so we assume no antibiotics, no painkillers, and she gives birth to what they refer to as a thing. She gives birth to a little girl who is really tiny. She's only 40 centimeters long and she looks like a doll. And when she comes out, the midwife and the new mother are both completely horrified. They don't know what it is. They look at the little creature and says it has this eerie quality that it looks too, and the look is both distant and really perceiving. So The new parents have been trying their whole life to have a child, and they only had lots of miscarriages. So the husband is a plumber in a village, and the wife is a housewife, I suppose, and wants to give birth to this little thing after lots of prayers and going to the local wage asking for a child. They don't really know what to do with it, so there's no breast milk coming, and what they end up doing is they give the little girl away to the midwife, and the wet nurse goes like, okay, I'm feeding like 3 other kids, obviously she's gonna grow, but she's not really growing. And after 3 months, the wet nurse had enough, so she brings the little girl back to the mother, like, look, she's gonna just bring me bad luck, I'm gonna lose my job, I don't know what to do with it. Name her, do something with her. So they decide to call her Pavla, which literally means small. And the mother of this little girl is really not interested in her. She feels like something went wrong, it's her fault, the God is punishing them. So the little girl is just laying in the crib with the mother being completely uninterested. The only person who pays any attention to her is the father, who is a plumber. And it's really interesting because the one thing the woman does to entertain the child is she keeps telling her the story of Turnip, which is a very prominent Russian fairy tale about how the old man comes across the turnip, tries to pull it out, and it just doesn't come out. So his wife comes to help, still cannot pull it out, and all the grandchildren and the dog and the cat, and then finally the mouse comes out, and they manage to get the turnip out of the ground. And the whole point of this proverb is that even the smallest thing can be really useful. So maybe she's hoping that the girl will grow up and have a place in the world. Has also really interesting discussion about the place of her husband in the village. He's a plumber, but people are quite ashamed because he sees the very dirty secrets when he comes to the house to unclog things. He's like a priest or doctor. He knows too much, so they're not really interested in him. And then suddenly he and his wife, after all those years, have this weird creature. It's a brilliant beginning of the book, so I'm really fascinated to see what happens next. How the little Pavlo is gonna grow, what problems she's gonna come across her way, because there will be problems. If she's that unusually looking now, when she's still a newborn, God only knows how else she's gonna grow. Okay, so the third book, also a little bit of a fable-esque, a little bit of a fairy tale, and this is Sarah Perry's The Essex Serpent. I mentioned this book in my plans for April. I've just purchased it on Monday the 3rd of April as a treat for Easter holidays. This is the Waterstone special edition. The book was longlisted for the Bailey's Book Prize, and you've seen it many a time on the booktube. Supposed to be excellent, so I'm very curious to see what happens in the first chapter. Right, just finished the first chapter of The Essex Serpent. I don't know what it is with me, but it's the third book I'm currently kind of starting to read, which has a very similar structure. It is divided not just in regular chapters, but into months, just like 1913, just like Sufficient Grace. It's really odd. This book is interesting. It's a bit heavy. It starts in January of 1893, and we meet a very interesting, very unusual family in London. The father is dying, and he dies in the first chapter, and it's mentioned in the blurb, so I'm not really giving you spoilers. He dies of the throat cancer, leaving his wife Cora a widow, and he also leaves a son who is a very peculiar child. I'm not a psychiatrist and psychologist, but it sounds just from first chapter that he might have autism. Not even Asperger's, autism. It's very specific and a little bit sinister, and his own mother is not quite sure how he's going to grow up. It's like there's one scene which is quite unsettling where she's slightly afraid of him and runs away. While her husband is ill, they get a doctor to come and look after him, and he slowly falls in love with the wife. They also have Martha, the sort of nursery maid slash companion slash housekeeper. She does all sorts of jobs. She's part of the family. And her relationship with Cora is quite interesting just from this first chapter. Cora is a fascinating character herself. She has a very strange upbringing. She is extremely intellectual. She has a slight speech impediment. And it is implied that she had a very difficult relationship with her husband, as if he was trying to break her and then mend her and mold her as an experiment. And it is also implied that it might have been not just mental abuse but the physical abuse as well. But now he's dead and she's a widow and she inherits everything. It's up to her how to live her life henceforth. So this first chapter is actually pretty interesting. It's a very interesting opening, but the prose itself is quite, I wouldn't say heavy, but it's difficult to read. Like, I find it very cotton woolly like, and I can't just go and read it and read it and read it. I need a break from it. I like lyrical writing. Like, I'm really liking Alexandrian Quartet at the moment, as you know. I'm reading it, but this is different, and I do struggle with sort of more than 30 pages of this style of writing in one sitting. So we'll see what the fourth book is like. Great, so the fourth book I'm going to read in this video is The Door by Magda Szabo. This is a Hungarian, originally written Hungarian book translated into English by, let me see who has done the translation, by Len Rix, and it has an introduction by Alice Smith. I've planned to read this book last month and it didn't happen, and I would like to really start it properly in April, so I thought if I include it in this video, it's gonna give me an incentive. So let's see what I think. Charlie, say hi. Say hi. And that's one of my two cats. I have two. That's the male one. His name is Charles. Charlie. He's British short hair. Gonna be 4 years old next month. And after reading The Door, I just really needed to give him a hug. No. Well, The Door. The Door is bloody amazing. It's wonderful. It is so well written, and the depth of character development is just out of this world. It is absolutely fantastic. 20 pages of pure joy. In the first chapter, we meet the narrator. She's a writer, and following the war, I assume World War II, she says that she has more work. She's been published again. Her husband is a professor at university, so he's busy. Hence, she needs to find domestic help to help her run the house. Her friends recommend Emerence, this interesting, strong-willed woman who basically has to pick you and decide whether she's gonna work for you or not. So Emerald decides that she likes them enough because they're not drunks. Her previous employer, like one of the previous ones, were alcoholics and she wasn't keen on that. So she comes and works with them, and it says straight in the beginning that Emerald will stay with this family for over 20 years until her death. And she's an excruciatingly private individual. She's so private. She closely guards her house. She never lets anyone in. And obviously the writer is intrigued, like, why is she so private? So she tries to work out why Emerald never invites anyone in. And people say, well, one of the reasons is her cat was hanged. It's very gruesomely described there by an idiotic bastard pigeon lover who had no evidence against her cat killing. Well, obviously the cat probably had eaten some of his pigeons, but it doesn't mean that you have to hang the poor animal. That's why I had to hug my cat after eating this. The last time I had this visceral response to an unpleasant character was when I was reading the Captain Cornelis Madeline. There was Psina, my favorite pet character in literature, and it was murdered by the Germans. I cried so much while reading this. Oh, this is fantastic. Like, honestly, for the first chapter, it's such a promise. It's just such a promise of excellence. Just so glad I came across this book and decided to pick it up. So glad. This is just great. So the fifth book, this is going to be like, I've already read like 100 pages today just in those 4 books. So this is going to be the last one for this video. This is the 4th book for me from 2015 Man Booker Prize shortlist. I've read The Brief History of 7 Killings, which won. I've read Little Life earlier this month, and I've also read The Fisherman last year, which I really like. So this is going to be my 4th book, and I've heard so many wonderful things about this one, and I found this wonderful, gorgeous, excellent condition edition for £1 in my charity shop, and I grabbed it. So I'm on my quest to read all of the shortlists for the Man Booker Prize, so let's see if I do like it. Well, just finished reading the 5th book, The Spool of Blue Thread by Anne Tyler, and I really liked it. Although I'm a little bit surprised that this book has been shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize just based on the first chapter, which, by the way, I have to say is 50 pages long. For the first chapter, it's pretty long, but it's a fairly large print, and it's a dialogue based writing, so it's just, you fly through the pages really quickly. Like, you can't compare this to The Door by Magda, Szabo, where one page is like 5 or 6 of this. The writing is beautiful. It's a very modern American writing. Like, you're not gonna think it's British. It's enjoyable. I've never read anything by Anne Tyler, but I've heard really good things, so I am keen to continue reading this. I love family sagas, and the first chapter is interesting. I mean, Danny, the lost sheep of the family, the son who just pops in and out of narration. You can go and disappear for up to 3 years and then just turn up on a doorstep. Very interesting. It's a very interesting family dynamic, and as Leah Tolstoy said, every unhappy family is unhappy in a different way, and it is interesting. I'm fascinated to know like what possesses a child to be so distant and detached from his seemingly loving family. So yeah, I'm very pleased I've started this book. So that concludes my April wild starts, so to speak. I don't know how to call this series of videos, but I'm keen to continue doing this every month. So what I was thinking is, I would be very happy if you could suggest what 5 books I should pick up next month. So when I record my books in May, I can use and based on your recommendations. And those of you who have been watching my channel for a while, I mean, you know that I have huge book hauls. You know what books are coming in and out. So you have a pretty good pool to suggest books, or maybe you will recommend something which is not on a list you've seen but I already have. So any suggestions will be welcome. I would like to pick up books which I'm sort of reticent to pick up, or they kind of waiting around their turn, and I don't really mind whether it's fiction or non-fiction. I'll be happy with both. So yeah, thanks guys for watching, and see you soon.